Hey everyone, my name's Kyle. I am the backyard problem solver, and I got a lot of requests to do a video on the deck build, so I'm going to do my best to show you that today. It's been a few years now since I've built this deck, so I'm going to try to go through the pictures and give you as much detail as I can. Now, I do need to warn you all that I am not a carpenter, so this video is not to show you how to build a deck. There are already plenty of videos on YouTube that do that better than I could. The point of this video is to show you a few of the things that I did to my deck that I hadn't seen done before, just to give you some ideas of different ways that you could do a pool deck. So if you're wondering what my pool is sitting on, I do also have a video on the base that I use for my pool, and I'll link that in the description below. But to get started on the deck, I first wanted the deck half on the base and half on the grass. I also did not want to sink the posts just because this was our first time having a pool. I didn't know how long we may have it, and I just wanted everything to be able to put back the way it was fairly quickly and easily. So I wanted to use the deck blocks, and everyone I had talked to told me that there was no way you could build a deck that tall and use deck blocks. But I decided to do it anyways. I don't know if that's the best way to do it or not, but I can tell you that we did not have any issues, and there was absolutely zero wobble in that deck. I would push on it as hard as I could, and it would not move an inch. So it seemed to work out just fine for us with all that cross bracing. So as you can see now, the deck is all framed out, and now it was time to move on to the steps. The steps is something that I wanted to do a little different, and this was one of those things that I hadn't seen done before. Part of it is because of the base. I wanted the steps to angle back to go directly to the base. But also I just wanted a cleaner look, and I liked having the steps angled back to give it that cleaner look. Doing the steps at an angle definitely caused a few headaches, but I had decided that was the way I wanted it done, and one way or another I was going to figure out a way to do it. We did have to retrofit some hanging plates and kind of bend them so we could hang those angled steps that way. And then we also screwed in that board underneath the top of the steps just to provide some extra support to make sure those didn't go anywhere. The other thing I wanted to do was to bring the deck boards right over the top rail of the pool. I wanted it to be closer to the water so kids jumping off would have less of a chance of tripping, and then also so someone could sit on the edge of the deck with their feet in the pool if they wanted to. This did require a little bit extra framing, but by doing that I was able to get the deck boards right over the top rail just like I wanted. So now it was finally time to start putting the deck boards on. The boards on the steps are just laying there so I could walk up to the top and start securing those boards first. You do want to make sure you leave a little bit of a gap between the boards for expansion. I just found a piece of cardboard that I had laying around because I didn't want a very big gap, so that's what I used. You probably want something a little more rigid, ideally, but that did work out just fine for me. And as you can see, the boards come right over that top rail and give it that nice clean look that I was looking for. With the deck board secure, it was now time to start on the railing. I first put the posts up on the top of the deck and then put the gate on the bottom of the steps. This is where I ran into another one of those headaches from angling the steps. I needed a double swivel stair rail mount. It needed to be able to swivel down in order to accommodate this going down the steps, and then it also needed to swivel to the side in order to accommodate the angle of the steps. This wasn't that big of a deal, but I did need to special order those mounts in. For this railing, you cut the top and bottom rails to length, and then you use as many balusters as you need. To do this properly, you need to make sure that you measure, and you may need to cut off each side of the top and bottom rail just to ensure that what you're left with is even spacing on the balusters. Then to install the top and bottom rail mounts, I would measure up and install the bottom mount, and then I used a board just to ensure that I had the exact same spacing between the top and bottom mounts each time. Then I would use a punch just to mark the holes. Then I was good to screw those mounts in place. With the railing on top of the deck in place, it was time to move on to the steps, which were definitely going to be the hardest part of the railing. So it was nice to stand up here for a second and finally get a sense of the finished look and pretend for a moment that I didn't still have to worry about the steps behind me. The steps weren't all that much different from the top of the deck. The main thing was just that I needed those double swivel mounts, as I mentioned before. I don't have many pictures of the installation of those, but here are a couple of the finished product. Now here are a few photos of the deck completely finished, or at least so I thought. As you can see, there is a small gap between the staircase railing and the side of the pool. I didn't put a section of railing here because since I took those deck boards over the top of the pool, the joist for the deck is actually pretty close to the staircase railing. So it would have been very difficult to fully secure a post into the joist and be able to put a section of railing in there. Unfortunately, my son did fall through that gap. Fortunately, he is okay, but it did make me realize that I needed to fill that gap somehow. In order to be able to bring the post as close to the pool as possible, I secured the back of the post into the joist. Then, instead of just screwing directly into the deck boards, I actually drilled a hole through the deck boards and put a bolt through them and secured it with several large washers and a nut. That way it was a little more secure, only being into the deck board on the front of that post. That still turned out quite strong, and we had no more issues going forward, and it allowed us to get that railing as close to the pool as possible. As you can see, that section does go all the way to the end of the deck and is much safer. You may also see that I removed the arms from the steps going down into the pool. I will also put a video in the description below on how I installed those steps. And here is one last photo of the deck, actually complete this time. Thank you all so much for watching. I would love it if you could like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, it helps me out a lot. Also, if you were interested in seeing how I did the base for this pool, or if you wanted to see how I installed those steps going down into the pool, I will have those videos linked at the end of this video. And thank you all for watching.